I don't see it.
We're going
Streaming.
live. We're going live.
Go.
We'll figure this out. We are live. Welcome
Are
to the
we?
Fight Club. I
This
am
one.
Colby. This is Fernando. We are previewing UFC 285, Jones versus Gane. This is taking place next week, March 4th, at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Early prelims will start at 2:30. Main card starts at 7 Pacific. I cannot wait to get into this one. We're going to jump right into it. First fight on the main card is between Bo Nickel and Jamie Pickett. Bo Nickel is coming in as a negative 1,400 favorite. Pickett plus 800 underdog. Absolutely crazy, crazy odds. Odds makers think that Jamie Pickett has absolutely no chance. And even though Bo Nickel at this point only has 3 MMA fights on his record, 1 in Icon, 2 on Dana White's Contender Series, they were all first round finishes. Like he just absolutely steamrolled these guys. So he has not gone up against the same level of competition as Pickett in the UFC, who Pickett is going to be fighting his 7th fight now in the UFC, but he's had a mixed record. Pickett's coming off of 2 losses. He had 2 wins before that. Before that, 2 losses. So bit of a mixed record. I think this is kind of interesting. I'm kind of curious for what are your thoughts on why do you think the UFC did this matchup when it seems like it's going to be so lopsided?
I think it's just trying to give Bo Nickel a foot in the door. Everyone who's talked about him, he has such a great wrestling pedigree. Bo Nickel was helping Jorge Masvidal prepare for the Covington fight. I don't think clearly that didn't help Masvidal at all. But Bo Nickel is just known as somebody who I think like a lot of people, DC, a lot of wrestling based commentators, fighters believe he's gonna, make his mark. I think when you have somebody who's highly touted, I think he might be the probably most highly credentialed wrestler in a while, besides DC with his Olympic wrestling background. But Bo Nickel has that collegiate wrestling background where he just dominated. He's dominating in his appearances. I think it's not going to be a surprise what his game plan is going to be. Pickett to me is going to have a striker's chance. Um, he is that's going to be it. I don't know if besides that, like once he gets taken to ground, just Kobe grew up wrestling, and I don't know if you heard Kobe's wrestling coach Greg Haga was just inducted into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Oh yes, yeah. That
And
I was yeah really happy to see that. That was awesome.
so that's at the high school level. Like this guy is dominating at the college level, and I don't think anyone can stop his takedown. Once they can figure that out, or once
Yo,
they can figure out how to pick him apart. I don't know.
I'm laughing. I'm sorry because do you have the grappling stats up on UFC?
Yeah, no. Oh, I do. Oh
Look
my
at them
god.
real quick. It's Bo Nickel literally breaks the website because they have no way to display the disparity in grappling. He has 23.68 takedowns per 15 minutes.
It's going
Because
over
even
Jamie Pickett's.
yeah, even though he's had 3 fights in total, he's not even had 3 minutes of fight time, which is absolutely crazy. And same thing with the submission average. It's the same. Takedown accuracy 100%. Like I think it was interesting though. Bo Nickel's second fight in Dana White's Contender Series. If I recall correctly, there was a little bit of some striking before, which I think probably surprised the other guy because he's totally just worried about the takedown, which is going to open up the striking. So I think it'll be fun to see if Bo Nickel is going to use that fear of the takedown to throw the strikes, and if that'll have the same effect as it did on his last opponent, where they're just completely, taken aback, because I'm sure their entire fight camp is all about, avoiding the takedown, which seems like it's going to, potentially open up the striking. And when a guy's that worried about the takedown, your striking doesn't have to be that great. I mean, we remember with Khabib, like against McGregor, where Khabib was able to land some shots and actually got like a knockdown from the striking, is because when a guy's that focused on the and Khabib's striking technique not the greatest, not even it was barely mediocre, I'd say, if you asked a lot of strikers to evaluate it, and I think we might have a similar thing with Bo Nickel. Although I'm curious, I feel like Bo Nickel could potentially end up having better striking technique than Khabib. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, especially if he's training with everyone down in Florida. Pick training around strikers because he's being brought in to help these strikers prepare for wrestlers, and he's picking up these skills. Like you can't help like him training with Jorge Masvidal alone. Like I think Masvidal has one of the greatest boxing stances. That fight against Nate Diaz showed that they both have good toe to toe stuff. Um, so he's based out of American Top Team. I think little by little he'll pick up those things. He just has that the strongest foundation he could have. Collegiate level wrestling. Um, I think it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up tagging Pickett with some. I think the question is, does anyone think Pickett has any sort of chance? Like, I just see if he overextends himself on a punch, takedown. If he goes for a kick, takedown. Like, I don't know what his options are as far as like what kind of attack are you gonna do? Like maybe just look to shoot the knee up the middle. Like when there's those wrestling dominant fighters, just look to always have the knee ready. I don't know.
Yeah, and hope that if it lands, it knocks them out. Because we've seen also with a lot of wrestlers is that they'll go sometimes right through that knee, even if it, rocks them. The takedown is so ingrained that they just follow through, even though they're kind of,
Yeah.
maybe seeing stars. So,
Hey,
yeah,
you never know. He could do a Masvidal to Ben Askren because Ben Askren again,
yeah,
probably the last great wrestler that UFC had, and it's sad that people just remember him from the Masvidal fight because Ben Askren just dominated people with the same amount of ground control time. So maybe that's it. Just knees. I just something up the middle with a lot of force behind it. Other than that, you're getting taken down. That
yeah,
this chart is ridiculous.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy. They can't even show this guy's stats. All right, let's get into the next one. Another good fight between Matus Gamrot and Jalen Turner. Gamrot coming as a negative 170 favorite, Turner a plus 145 underdog. Gamrot is coming off coming off of a loss against Dariush that went all 3 rounds where he lost by decision. But before that, he had a win over Sarukian, Ferreira, Jeremy Stevens, Scott Holtzman. So he's got some good wins under his belt for sure. Gamrot is a great grappler and also has some power for sure in his strikes, as lots of these grapplers do sometimes. Turner, he's coming off of a 5-fight win streak. This is going to be about his 8th or 9th fight in the UFC. I think it's going to be a good fight. Should be competitive. How do you think this one's going to play out?
Uh, this one, I think this one's interesting because I'm trying to pull it up on UFC.com, and it lets me click the Bo Nickel fight and the Jeff Neal fight,
Yeah,
but
it's
not the.
broken.
Yeah, like what? Come on, UFC. I want to say Gamrot. Like to me, I think he has the best chance. Him facing, taking out somebody like Jeremy Stevens, who's known for his knockout power. In a minute by Kimura. His fight against Arman Sarukian, that to me was just such an amazing back and forth fight. That although it was a unanimous decision, like both of those guys threw so many strikes, just it was such a scramble fest. That was honestly one of my favorite fights from last year. Uh, Jalen Turner, I don't know. I see him just being kind of although he's got some submission victories, I don't think he's as well rounded as Gamrot is. So for me, I'm going to pick Gamrot. I want to see him fight for the belt. Like I want to see him. If Sarukian ends up getting up there again, that rematch. His loss to Benil Dariush. Benil's fighting Charles Oliveira next. So it goes to show, like, if he can continue to win, maybe he'll get that rematch. And Benil looks like he's a shot or two away from the title shot. Um, so these guys are knocking at the door, getting ready to step in and hopefully challenge or be in a title contender fight. I think Mateus is closer than Turner. I think with this, it'll show kind of the difference in their levels. My pick's going to be Gamrot because I want to see that Daria rematch for sure.
Yeah, I'm picking Gamrot as well. Next up, we have Jeff Neal against Shavkat Romanov. Romanov coming in as a negative 500 favorite, which is pretty impressive when you're considering that it's up against Jeff Neal, who is a veteran of the sport. This is going to be Jeff Neal's about 10th fight in the UFC. He's only got 2 losses in the UFC, and just a pretty good all around fighter. Whereas Rachmanov, a little bit newer to the UFC scene. This is going to be his 5th fight in the UFC. He's got 4 wins though, all by finish, which is really impressive, and especially the submission win over Neil Magny in his last fight, where he's able to take out Magny with only 2 seconds left in the second round. I was watching this one. I think, if I recall correctly, I bet on Magny, and so I was just on the edge of my seat. I was like, "Hold on, and hold on." Yeah, he had to tap out. So, um, and yeah, what are your thoughts on how this one's going to break down?
To me, Jeff Neal is a fighter that's very similar to Neil Magny. Like they're consistent. They don't really stand out to me. Jeff Neal has a loss to Neil Magny, and Shakva has a win over him in his last one. So I want to say for me, just Shafkat looks like he's just way more consistent, well more rounded. He got submission wins, good striking wins. It wouldn't surprise me if Jeff looks to looks to stand and trade. I just think once it goes to the ground, it's going to be a whole different story.
Yeah,
My pick is going to be Rachmanov. I want to see these guys with like great records make it to the top and show that they belong. 16-0 is, I think the pressure is going to be on him to kind of show he belongs. But Jeff Neal just, I don't think has the tools necessary to take his O.
yeah. Well, so here's the thing. I'd agree with you until I feel like Jeff Neal's last fight, which I did mention, it was a win over Vicente Luque. Uh,
Mhm.
so to me that was really impressive, and you got to wonder sometimes these guys after they've been in their career for a while, they make it over some hump, they have some turn, and are able to take off like Michael Bisping, or some of these guys who've been around for a while before they something changes in their how they train or their mindset, or something. So I'm curious, as Jeff Neal turned a corner and he's now gone to a new level, or like you mentioned, is he kind of like he's been for the past several years, where it's just gonna have those mixed results where he doesn't always show up on fight night. It'll be interesting. Yeah, I think Rachmanov is going to have the advantage on grappling for sure. Jeff Neal, though, does have some pretty good takedown defense, so it'll be interesting. Can Jeff, keep things on the feet and go striking? It'll probably be a little bit more even and competitive. Uh, but do I think he ultimately win in this one? I'm also going to have to pick Rachmanov to win, although I think it'll be more competitive maybe than the odds makers are saying. So should be interesting. We'll see how this one plays out. Next up, I cannot wait for this fight. Valentino Shevchenko going against Alexa Grasso. It's been a while since we've seen Shevchenko fight. Shevchenko's last fight was against Taylor Santos, where it did end up going all 5 rounds, which was, a surprise, probably to myself and a lot of people, that she wasn't able to finish her. But she did get the win. Shevchenko has just been on a crazy win streak. Her only 2 losses, or she's had 3 losses total, but only 2 in the UFC, and they're both to Amanda Nunes, which was not at her weight class. I don't really count those. At the time, the 125 weight class didn't even exist for females, so she really did not have a place to compete on equal footing. She's going to be defending her belt for I can't even count all these up. 8. She's had eight championship wins, so this will be her 9th championship win if she can pull it off against Grasso. I forgot to mention, so Shevchenko negative 625, Grasso plus 450, which to me is also interesting that, I feel like this was very close odds when she fought against Andrade Shevchenko, where I think it was around negative 500. A lot of Shevchenko's fights, it's going to be negative 1,000 or more. So it's interesting. I wonder if there was something in that last fight, where people are wondering, is she going to be able to maintain that level of dominance? Grasso coming off of a 4-fight win streak. Her last win was against Rahu. Before that, against Joanne Wood. Before that, against Macy Barber. So she's got some really great wins on her record, but she lost to Carla Esparza and she lost to Tatiana Suarez. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Grasso has a scenario where she can come out on top and dethrone the longtime champ Shevchenko?
I'd say probably the only thing she has going for her is that they're the same height. Like, it's been a while. Like, a lot of the people at this weight class are 5'4". Andrade is like 5'1". Um, I think that might be a thing that might throw her off a little bit. But Shevchenko is just, when this fight happens, it'll be 3 days before she turns 35. So being dominant that long, I hope she can keep it up. We saw Amanda Nunez, who no one thought would lose, who, like, obliterated Cyborg, get obliterated herself. Like, it's gonna happen someday. It's highly likely that it's gonna happen to Shevchenko. It happens when you fight. It's just who's gonna do it. uh, I'd like to see her keep going and go out on top. Grasso, I don't think has the tools necessary to do that. Although Grasso does have some great wins on her record, her win against Macy Barber a couple fights ago, Joanne Wood. I don't know. Like, it's just, seeing how she fought Macy Barber in the last three fights, and that was about 2 years ago, and didn't finish her. And Macy's like super young, was even younger at the time. That just kind of goes to show, like, Shevchenko is just on a whole nother level. I think Shevchenko is going to hold on for a while. I'd love to see um, some new blood challenger, somebody that she hasn't fought, hasn't seen before. Maybe Erin Blanchfield. I think she's definitely capable of it. She showed against Jessica Andrade, like, that she can come out and strike with a striker. But a 5'1" striker versus a 5'5" striker is a big difference. Not to say that it's not possible, but I definitely would like to see Shevchenko win this fight, and then the next two or three fights, if Blanchfield is able to keep it up, them cross paths and do a young versus old. It's a great matchup, great storyline. Until then, I don't know who else could challenge Shevchenko. She's beat everyone. She's gonna be going like through round two or three, kind of like Jones did. Kind of like Adesanya. Like, we're just like, they're just recycling them at this point. So
Yeah,
some new blood would be nice.
yeah,
I think she's gonna get through Grasso in probably, I hope, like round one or two, to show everyone again, like, hey, I'm dominant. Yeah, I can, take some time off and still be up on top, but, like, I need to show you guys I'm the champion. Like, you got to come get this from me. And yeah, I
yeah,
definitely want that to happen for sure.
yeah. Myself as well. I love watching Shevchenko. I think she's the best technical striker, definitely for the females, possibly, regardless of gender. She's definitely in that top two or three, I'd say, on striking technique. So yeah, can't wait to see another Shevchenko fight. And yeah, it's one of those things where, yeah, how long is it going to last? At some time it'll be over, but I don't think Grasso is going to be the one to put an end to her reign. So we'll see how that one goes. And for the main event, we have the long-awaited return of John Jones fighting Cyril Gane. Jones coming in as a negative 165 favorite. The, what many people consider to be the greatest of all time is only a negative 165 favorite going against Cyril Gane, who, I mean, he won his last fight, but he lost to Nagano for the championship fight. I mean, he did have the win over Lewis. Before that, has had some really impressive wins. I think Gane is absolutely an incredible fighter in terms of technique, amazing movement as a heavyweight. But he's going against potentially the GOAT. And we're talking about long title reigns. I can't even count up the championship fights here in front of me. There's too many of them. He's been champion since 2011, and he's only been fighting championship fights since then. Had the no contest against Cormier that was in there. I think that was because of the drug stuff,
Yeah,
right? When he got popped or
the
whatever. Yeah. So
elevated levels. Yeah.
yeah, and the only loss on his record is the loss by disqualification, which in my opinion, John Jones should have been disqualified from like 10 fights for gouging people's eyes out with nut shots and things like that. But that's just my opinion as far as like how the fights have gone. No one's really had a much of a chance other than maybe you could say Dominic Reyes. It was a close fight. Thiago Santos also was a close fight, but other than those two, maybe Gustafsson was a close fight. So it was close fights against the best of the best, but everyone else he's just absolutely steamrolled. And anyone who he's rematched, he's just obliterated when it has been a close fight. Cyril Gane, nowhere near as much experience as John. He came into the UFC only in 2019, and I mean he's had a great record, a great win streak. He's been active, but I don't know. I feel like these odds are almost disrespectful to John. Maybe it's because they going to the new weight class for John, going up to heavyweight. He's never fought at heavyweight, so maybe that's playing a factor. What do you think? Do you think those odds make sense, or do you think John should be a way bigger favorite, or what are your thoughts on that?
I, I think John Jones is going to be one of the greatest fighters at any weight class, pound for pound. Like once he comes back, it's just going to be like re-cement his legacy. I think the unfortunate part is a lot of people who are new to the sport, especially with like not to take anything away from like Logan Paul, Jake Paul, like they've kind of brought some attention back to MMA because there's a lot of cross promoting going on, and boxers wanting to fight MMA guys fighting boxers, and it sucks that in all this time John Jones has been on the sideline. So like in the time that the sport has blown up the most and seen everywhere, like today alone, there's Bellator fighting on, Floyd Mayweather's fighting, there's the fight, the UFC fights, there was bare knuckle last night, there was Showtime boxing, there's boxing night, like there's just so much going on, and it's easy for people to forget like, oh hey, yeah, John Jones was great. We know because we've been watching for years, but I want people to remember like this guy is just on a whole nother level. He obliterated strikers, beat up wrestlers. And I don't think Cyril Gane is on any of that level. He doesn't move like the guys that John Jones, has fought and beat move. He doesn't have that kind of striking, that kind of wrestling. Even though he's larger, there's no way he's got better wrestling than Cormier. Even though he's bigger, he doesn't have the kind of striking that like at the time Quentin Jackson had, Lyoto Machida, Shogun Hua, all these guys who are legends. John Jones has taken them out, and it was like I remember when he beat Shogun Hua, I was like, no, and that's so long ago because Shogun just retired like a month ago. Like that's just how long ago it was. I was definitely impressed with Cyril's win against Bam Bam using the body kicks, but Bam Bam does not have the movement that John Jones does. Does not have, he probably might hit harder than John Jones does, but he doesn't have the reach, doesn't have the kicks, doesn't have the groundwork. He's definitely done a great job of showing out against these people who have essentially one dimensional fighting style. Like he TKO'd Derek Lewis, he KO'd Bam Bam. Great, but you have him against somebody like Francis Ngannou who's bigger and was able to take him down. Like that to me is like, like that's going to be John Jones
Yeah,
doing that to
I
you.
yeah, I feel like Gane's biggest advantage at heavyweight has been his movement. That's what everyone's talked about. That Gane's movement is unlike anyone at heavyweight maybe ever. Uh, well, I feel like John Jones, fighting at 205, it's his biggest advantage is gone. So that's why, because I feel like John Jones' movement is so good, and his positioning in the ring, like I haven't. I guess it's got to be the thought that Gane's going to win by KO because I don't think there's any chance that Gane's going to do anything on the ground. I mean, Francis Ngannou beat him with grappling. So if Francis Ngannou beats you with grappling, who was not known for doing any grappling at all,
At
and
all.
with the bum knee, and with the bum knee, his knee was like shot or whatever in that fight. So I don't understand how he has any chance against John Jones. I don't think these odds really make a lot of sense. I'd say not only to pick John Jones to win, but I feel like you're getting value at the negative 165 odds. So I don't know. That's my thought. Jones, even though he's coming up a weight class, he still has more reach, and he's the same height as Gane. So yeah, I don't see how Gane is gonna win unless he can just get that KO.
And considering we're only a week away, I know we've heard like kind of just back and forth commentary. No one has seen like training footage of John Jones. Like you don't know what he's looking like, what he's weighing. To me, I'm gonna be looking forward to that. Like, what's he coming in? Is he coming in at 240, 250? Like, because everyone says he gained a ton of weight, and he's never really like shown like, hey, this is the weight I'm coming in at, or what his fight weight is. Him chilling out training is different than him training, 2, 3 times a day.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't wait to see John Jones. His comeback. It's been 3 years since we've seen him fight, and I did count him up while we were while you were talking. 15 championship fights. 14 of those wins. I mean, it was 15, but one of them was disqualified. So, absolute legend. I want to see if he's still got it. He started so young that he's 35, so he's getting up there. But as far as heavyweights go, oh my God, these ads are going off on the ESPN website. But anyway, should be interesting. I can't wait to see his comeback fight. Wait to see this one play out. Anything else you want to say before we head out here?
Oh, nope. Just follow us, social media, check us out. We'll be doing more and more content here. Yeah, it's been a year. Happy anniversary, Colby. Yay. It was actually February 11th, but it's good, man. I like it. Hopefully you guys like our content, can share it. Hopefully we're providing something that's a little bit different. Everyone else seems to be like super old or super out of shape, and we're kind of still young. Like John Jones is our age.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we still got it.
Good.
All right.
All right. See you next time.